Today, in 2015, when we talk about journalistic freedoms and accountability, we have quite a few challenges to talk about and not enough examples of good practices that could be promoted. Unfortunately, we are witnesses today of old as well as new pressures coming to media integrity, to journalistic integrity. Cases of Mr. Pavelić and Mr. Jelena in Novi List and in Slobodna Dalmacija are very worrisome and send a very bad message to freedom of journalism, not only to those two particular journalists, but it's also a message that media companies will not necessarily stand by their journalists, that there is a bigger and bigger gap between journalists and the newsrooms and the management and the ownership of media. Boris Dežulović, as a columnist in the paper Slobodna Dalmacija, a daily paper that was established during the anti-fascist movement 70 years ago, has actually been taken out of the newsroom, and the newsroom has said thank you to Boris Dežulović after the paper was fined with something like 20,000 euros because a group of 10 concerned citizens felt that the text that was published was some sort of a libel against them. And unlike usual situations when newsrooms, after they publish some article, whether it's a news report or a commentary, they are supposed to stay along with the journalist. This time Slobodna Dalmacija decided to stop all further cooperation with this very famous journalist, not only in Croatia but in Europe as well. In case of Boris Pavelić, a journalist from Novi List, this situation is being entangled right now, but as far as we know, it seems that precisely because of publishing an article regarding what the head of opposition party, Mr. Karamarko, was being called by previous secret services, head of secret services, Mr. Manolić. Well, that simple report, what Mr. Manolić said about Mr. Karamarko, was published for a short period of time on the web portal of Novi List, but it seems that due to this publication, Mr. Pavelić has had trouble and maybe will not be able to work anymore in Novi List. If Croatia is ever to have a system that promotes integrity in journalism, then first and foremost it should have a collective agreement regarding journalism, so that all media companies and journalists have a clear set of rules on who and under what circumstances can publish in media, how that publication is protected and promoted, and how manipulation of the audiences is prevented. In this sort of absurd atmosphere that we have developed in Croatia, what I would say is very important now to save media integrity, journalistic integrity, is to have this collective agreement that would enable journalists to protect their workers' rights, their economic stability, to enable journalists to be protected from politicians, as well as political ties with media owners. And then secondly, regarding the whole system of protection of human rights, there needs to be stronger and more effective prosecution of hate speech and truly discriminatory speech. GONG also views journalism as public good, and from that point of view we've been trying to have some sort of positive contribution to the discussions of media policy in Croatia, but unfortunately we have not moved much, and there is complete lack of progress in that area. What I would like to stress from GONG point of view is that we deal with the priorities of media policy from two points. One is regarding freedom of information and freedom of expression, and the other one is regarding pluralism of the variety of ideas that need to be present in the public sphere, and it's up to the media to enable that. Even though the mandate of this government is coming to an end, there is still some hope that in the Ministry of Culture's organized discussion regarding the new media policy, there can be some progress made by the end of 2015. In this sense, we hope that this whole discussion regarding new media policy will bear some sort of fruit, at least in setting the foundation on what to do with changes of legislation perhaps next year. In that sense, it is very important that the Ministry of Culture continues to push for the implementation of that future media strategy and changes of the necessary legislation. I would also add that there is quite a lot of work for the Journalists Association, but more primarily the Journalist Union, as well as many NGOs that deal with basic human rights, who can, and they're very willing to support all these processes.